Regresa Lula y Brasil a su lugar como mediador diplomático del mundo, en un gran discurso en las Naciones Unidas. We had this encounter at the UN in New York, and a lot of presidents were giving very inspiring speeches, speaking truth to power in some sense. One of the most inspiring was given by Lula, the current president of Brazil. Even if Brazil is coming out of a proto-fascist government from President Jair Bolsonaro, Brazil has always had a very, very strong diplomatic branch, which is Itamaraty. Itamaraty is like the diplomatic arm of the Brazilian government. They have used and they have had a very strong independence regardless of the current ongoing president. And that diplomatic excellence is still reflected in what we're seeing today with Lula. So I was very happy with the speech. Also important to remember that Lula was in jail. He was unjustly put in jail by Lava Jato, which was a major intervention by the CIA in Brazil to take the leftists from power and give rise to Bolsonaro and proto-fascism. But one of the things that was very interesting is that Lula got out of jail with a very strong sense of national importance and national, let's say, independence. You know, like he really came out with strong, absolute metaphysical concepts of the importance of developing productive forces, strengthening the borders, defending the Amazon, you know, like setting himself up again in geopolitics with a strong voice in the international community. And also Brazil is historically a mediator, which is very much necessary today. As we are seeing this like rebranding of a Cold War, a second Cold War between China and the US, I think it's important for different regions to have their own discourse and to have their own point of view about what is happening globally. Because I think Latin America is big, strong, and important enough to hold their own into this conversation and not necessarily just being seen as a proxy ally to the China interest in Latin America.
Absolutely. I mean, I was interested to hear your analysis on this because I know you have a deeper understanding of Brazil than myself, but that's so interesting that Lula came out of jail sort of with that attitude. I mean, it makes sense. Like there was a learning experience for Hugo Chavez in Venezuela as he dealt with the US more and more, he realized the importance of anti-imperialism and establishing Venezuelan independence. And some of the things Lula said at this speech, like Brazil is reconnecting itself with the region and with the world. He said Brazil is back, you know, so really wanting to assert themselves on the global stage. Not in the way that the US asserts themselves with imperialism, but as an important country in global trade.
But I think it's also important for them to be said at the UN. He said, you know, like the 1%, which are the wealthiest people on earth, have more money than 40% of the population. He said like a huge percentage of the population of the world don't know what they're going to have for dinner tonight, and they don't know if they're going to be able to afford breakfast tomorrow. Like at the same time, he then again pointed out the extreme injustice and inequality that is a natural production of the current capitalist model, economic social formation. But it's important for us to hear this at the UN, because normally what we hear is this woke progressive discourse about, you know, metaphysical abstract notions of justice and inclusivity and bringing people together under flags that we don't really identify, but leaving outside of the discourse the real problems, the material conditions that produce all this pain, hurt, antagonism, and the crisis that we're seeing now again and again.